It's time now for Carter's Corner. Everything Bay Area sports on the Northern California Sports and Entertainment Network. Here is your host, Carter Kim.
Welcome back. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, people of this channel. It's good to have you guys back. This is Carter's Corner here on Northern Light Entertainment. We are currently in the middle of the San Francisco Giants game between the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm just doing commentary and watching it a little bit. It might be fun just to be here to watch that. I'll also talk about pretty much anything else, what's going on in the sports world right now, how we're quite literally in one of the best times of year when it comes to sports, whether we're talking October baseball, the return of the NHL and the NBA, ongoing continuance of the NFL. It's a great time for sports, y'all, and enjoy yourselves because it's very nice to be around this time of year. But yeah, so have some fun as Mike Yastrzemski swings at a nasty changeup from Leahy. And Mike Yastrzemski does not have a great at-bat record for runners in scoring position as he takes a fastball up, and it's high. It is far, but it's caught by the center fielder, Siani. So that will be the end of the sixth. But today, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking about pretty much everything. Like, there is so many good things happening in the sports world right now. I mean, there's just interesting stuff going on right now. Sorry, let me just make sure that everything's good. It is in 49er world right now. I hate it because our defense that is comprised of some of the best players in football who have been absolutely class this year aren't playing well. A lot of them are playing well. Fred Warner and Nick Bosa are playing great. Javon Hargrave played great, but sadly he's out for the season with a biceps injury. That's really too bad. Talanoa Hufanga has returned, which is really needed. Devondre Campbell hasn't playing well. We've been in trouble a lot of the time, and if we don't get it together defensively, we are going to have a bad year because the offense this year has been really good so far. Brock Purdy's has some great performances. We've been solid in most of our time with the running backs ever since McCaffrey got injured. Obviously, we were injured, but the Rams were also injured, so we can't make an excuse for that. You know, that's not a rightful excuse. It's just not the right thing to say. I mean, just because we're injured and they're injured, that equals the playing field. And at the end of the day, they won, maybe by some luck because we did miss a field goal, but again, we should have been able to stop them defensively because we're supposedly a really good defense, but Nick Sorensen has clearly made some many horrible mistakes so far. I mean, he let the Vikings and the Rams walk all over him. And if he had prevented one of those touchdowns or one of those extra points or something like that as a defensive mind, we might be talking a little differently, but Giants are back. Patrick Bailey and Tristan Beck have played well today. So has Matt Chapman, along with Erard Encarnacion, a couple other people, along with Elliot Ramos and some other guys. They've been good today. But here we are back with the pitching. And pitching change is Eric Miller will be playing in this game. High fastball, not a strike, way out of the zone. Eric Miller has actually been having a pretty good season. I actually like how the dude's been playing. He's been playing well. I like how he's been doing. He's had some good moments. He's had some really bad moments. But for the most part, I actually really like Eric Miller. I'm hoping that he can be like one of the guys we can have and like as a middle reliever for like an inning that can throw a little gas and just like get us out of there. More like a situational lefty, but he's been really good in some situations as he throws a changeup, making it a 2-1 count. Defensive replacements, Brett Wisely is up at the plate. Not up the plate, at second base. Here we go, the pitch. It is a nasty changeup that should be a strike, but the umpire just does not call it. I don't know why, but yeah. It's a pretty sobering season, y'all. Obviously, we're watching it and having a little bit of fun at the very end, but especially with how we've been playing spoiler for some teams. But it's just been very disappointing because we should have done so much better this year. Obviously, Jung-Hoo Lee got injured, so I can't blame it entirely there. But it's just been a season of pure disappointment because this is the 5th season out of 6 that we have finished at or below 500. That is not good at all. And it's a damning testament to Farhan Zaidi's tenure as a GM of this organization. And honestly, I really, really am just like inclined to say, you know what? It's fine. Let's fire him and move on, because we've been talking about this on Giant Sports Talk Live. We've been talking about it here on this show. In order for this team to actually get back in a situation that where we can try and contend again is if we fire him, because he's clearly not shown an ability to put together teams that are contender worthy. I mean, other than that 2021 year, which was a massive anomaly, the year where everything went up right for us, Brandon Belt, Brandon Crawford, and Buster carried us that entire season. They played great, obviously, but other than those guys, Farhan Zaidi really didn't do anything that made this team play well. I can't name a damn thing that made me think that he played well, as they hit a line drive into left field as Paul Goldschmidt doubles. Eric Miller gets knocked around a little bit, doesn't have an out yet. I mean, it's just it's a disappointing season, because with all of the good players that we signed in the offseason, we thought we were being serious, but we just were not. We're not a serious team because Farhan Zaidi doesn't understand how to make moves that can make you a good team. And until you do understand that, you won't win. Just plain and simple, you won't win. Eric Miller throws a changeup in the dirt. He's working himself into a bit of a crappy situation. Brendan Donovan steps in the box. Miller gets set in the windup, deals, throws. It's a foul ball off a four-seam up and in. I mean, it's just been such a time with baseball, because honestly, I'm so excited, because in particular, one thing happened yesterday that I was so impressed with. The Detroit Tigers have clinched a playoff spot after a long, tumultuous few months where they struggled and fought back constantly against opposition, as Eric Miller throws a changeup for a strike. They made it, man. Everyone thought they were dead in the water, but then after our series, the series we played against them, it was a wake-up call, and they never looked back. They kept winning and winning and winning and winning and winning some more as Eric Miller throws a slider up top. It's just, you love to see it with the Tigers. It's been 10 years, and they're finally back in the playoffs. It's nice to see them playing well. I mean, Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, Colton Keith, Kerry Carpenter, they have been fantastic this year, and it's good to see them doing well, along with Scooble, who's going to be awesome to watch in the playoffs. I cannot wait to see how that goes. I mean, that's going to be so fun. There's so many great players on that team. But in the NL, it's freaking close. Like, I don't know how to emphasize this enough. Like, each team is they're only like a half a game apart. If one of them loses, like today, they will be out of the wild card. If one of them wins today, they can be in the wild card as a line drive's hit into triples alley. That'll clear the bases as 2-run score, because Eric Miller's trash right now. He's not playing good right now, even though he's been having a good season for the most part. But ever since that Los Angeles series, he has not been the best. But yeah, looking at this wild card race, the Diamondbacks, Mets, and Braves are all fighting for that one spot. And the worst part about that wild card predicament is very simple, in my opinion. It's just someone has to lose. That is the worst part about it, in my opinion. Somebody has to lose. And that's a horrible thought in my opinion, because all three of those teams are fantastic teams. I mean, the Braves have a fantastic pitching staff. The Mets are a great, well-rounded team with decent pitching and a really, really good hitting core. The Diamondbacks are the best team with runners in scoring position with a decent pitching staff and some dynamite hitting. I mean, you just hope that they can figure it out, because one of these teams can figure it out and end up going on all the way, because all three of those teams are they're teams you can root for. So is the same with the Padres, but you really hate to see it because one of those teams is going to have to be out of playoff contention, and it's going to suck for one of those fan bases, because they've had overall the seasons that all three of those teams have been absolutely great, and they should be proud. But I know that for the Diamondbacks or the Braves, it's not going to be a great season if they lose the wild card. And for the Braves, it's going to be weird because they're not playing with house money, because they don't have house money to play with. I mean, look at what's been going on with them. They have a good team, obviously, the Mets, but a lot of the guys that have been really contributive to their success, Minaya, Quintana, and Severino, JD Martinez, these guys aren't rentals per se, but a lot of these guys are like free agents that are like more mid-tier that they signed for like a year or even 2 years with maybe an opt-out or no opt-out at all. And my question to the Mets like front office is this: what's your plan after this year? Because you can't necessarily get all those guys to come back, and they've all had career years. They keep going into the red, in my opinion, and I'm wondering if that's going to affect their thoughts on trying to get Juan Soto to come to Queens. I mean, obviously they've got a good team that's worthy of a lot of praise, but you got to wonder, are they going to be able to keep, or are they going to be able to go far? Because they've shown that they're a good team. The question really ends up being, are they going to be able to keep that team together? They really can't, because a lot of these guys have had career years, and some sucker of a team is probably going to be like, you know what, I'm going to splurge on these guys. And that'll probably be us, because we love signing marginal free agents. Oh my gosh, Eric Miller walks another one. Yep, that'll be it for Eric Miller. But that is just, it's really interesting, because all three of those teams have something at stake. The Braves has something at stake. Well, actually, no, the Braves don't, because they can say, oh yeah, this is another lost year. It's a crappy year. You know, we lost the core. We lost a year of our core's opportunity to go win a championship. The Mets can say, well, if we don't do it this year, then we're going to have issues in the offseason, because what Steve Cohen and a lot of the Mets ownership said was something along the lines of, you know, oh, I'm going to, you know, he said something along the lines of, we're going to be punting to 2025, because 2024 is more of a year where we're trying to develop create a bridge year between, you know, because 2023 was such a disastrous year. 2024 is a bridge year where we see what we can do with like some of our core players. And then in 2025, we really try and contend, because we're going to collect prospects. We're going to collect players, because we sign all these mid-tier free agents and trade them, because that's basically the idea of what they're doing. Because a lot of these mid-tier free agents can contribute to a good team. And they did. They played fantastically this year. And that was the biggest issue, because that wasn't in the cards. It wasn't, the idea of the team wasn't going to be, oh yeah, we're contending this year. The idea was, we're just trying to bridge a gap and get ready for 2025, because we have Luis Angel Acuna and a bunch of other really good prospects waiting down in Albany. I believe that's where their farm team is. But yeah, I mean, it's just such a bizarre situation, because they aren't in a position where failure is a great option. Because what do you do after this year then? Do you just keep going on with the plan? Do you bring up all the young guys and try and make something out of that? If that happens, then what do you do? Because it's like as Tyler Rogers gets hit into left field and now the game is tied. Oh my gosh, we just blew a lead. A's move to Vegas is going to be awesome. It's going to be devastating, in my opinion, because in my opinion, what John Fisher did for baseball was disgraceful. You took the love and a passionate fan base and screwed them over entirely. You basically said, I don't care about the fans. I don't care about baseball. I'm going to move this team whether you want it or not. And everyone complains about the city of Oakland or whatever. But at the end of the day, you put this on the fans and you put out that terrible letter that's like, oh, yeah, I'm one of you. I wish to speak to all of you. But yeah, the fans never show up and Oakland is a dump. Yeah, that's no. Why would anyone want to show up to Oakland Coliseum when John Fisher's letting it burn? Why would anyone show up for bad baseball? I wouldn't show up for bad baseball. I wouldn't want to show up for a team that's kind of mid-tier or even horrible at times. I wouldn't want to show up for an owner who has treated my team so badly and is taking it away from me. That's just not true. I mean, have you ever remembered the Moneyball seasons? I really think that they did show up. So that's just not true at all. Did you see what it was like on the last day? Doesn't make that much sense in my opinion. But it's disastrous for baseball because in reality, nobody in Las Vegas cares about baseball either. They genuinely care about hockey. They have a great hockey fan base out there with the Golden Knights, but they don't care about football. That place is absolutely crowded with fans of opposing fan bases, and it's going to be the same when they go to Vegas because there are a lot of great fans for Oakland and people were there. Yeah, the Moneyball season was low payroll, but people still showed up, didn't they? That's all. Everyone says Oakland's a dunk, Oakland's this, Oakland was that. Yeah, they are bottom of attendance. Why is that, though? It's not because they're bad fans, is it? It's because there is a systemic problem in the organization of the Oakland A's. And that is John Fisher is a bad owner who doesn't want to spend money. And he is greedy. He's not really a baseball guy. He's a businessman. Listen, you can give crap to guys like George Steinbrenner, for example, but he never let his team rot. He never let his fans rot. He always cared about making sure that fans were interested in baseball and what he was doing in New York. John Fisher doesn't care about that. He's about the bottom line. He's about business. If the fans show up, the teams would have stayed. That's just not the case at all. That's not the case at all. Why would they stay? Why would the fans show up? MLB would have forced a sale if the money was there. That's just, what are you talking about? That's not accurate at all. That's not accurate at all, in my opinion. I mean, what is there to say? What do you do? I mean, what do you do? Force a sale? That doesn't make much sense because mostly Rob Manfred isn't a great owner or a great commissioner of the MLB. He doesn't understand how baseball works in a lot of ways. He's more inclined for the business of baseball, not really the fandom of baseball. That's the biggest problem in baseball nowadays, in my opinion. You're making it more about money than you are about fandom and fans. And that's what makes baseball really problematic sometimes. And the reason why fans don't show up to Oakland, don't show up to the Coliseum, is because it is rusty, it's poor, the quality of the stadium is bad. And whose fault is that? It's not the city of Oakland's fault. That's not the fans' fault. It's the fault of John Fisher for letting the place depreciate. It's the fault of the owners of the MLB for allowing the city of Oakland to rot by itself. That doesn't make much sense. All three owners voted for this. The Raiders were poor in Oakland and now top 5 value franchises in the entire world. Yeah, because they're in Vegas. That's it. Because who wants to show up to Oakland? Who wants to show up in Oakland? I mean, because, again, the quality of the football is so bad. The quality of the baseball is so bad. Owners are only doing this to try and get out. The owners of the Raiders and the owners of, the A's, for example, they depreciate the product intentionally and let it rot. I mean, you say no one wants to show up in Oakland, up to Oakland, yeah, but not because it's a bad fandom or a bad town. That's just how do I put this? It's a narrative that people love to push to make it seem rightful that owners can do things. It's a very peasantry mentality. It's very much an idea of, oh, I should be able to do what I want with my money, and I can disregard everybody else. I can disregard the people who have given their lives to the baseball team and who have cared about it for the last 60 years, ever since it moved to Oakland. It's been the most loving town of all of the towns that the A's have been in, more than Kansas City and Philadelphia, and that's how it is. Yeah, and that is how private businesses work, man. They are. That doesn't mean it's right, though, is it? Does it? But yeah, and the thing is, the whole valued franchises thing, the reason why they were so poorly valued is very simple. The product is depreciated. That doesn't make any sense. The product is depreciated on purpose by an owner because they want to leave the city, because the city isn't giving them what they want. It's the great stadium grift, because the city is, and you're obviously gone now, so I really don't care what you think. I mean, again, I'm not one of those people who's going to be all like, oh yeah, I'm for the business. I'm for the people. I'm for the players. And at the end of the day, I think you're wrong, simply put, because the reason why the franchise is so depreciated and why these places are so depreciated is very simple. It's because you have intentionally depreciated the product so that you can leave, because the city of Oakland did not want to give John Fisher and the Raiders exactly what they wanted. And again, you're gone, so I don't care. But yeah, they were profitable. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. Because at the end of the day, they depreciated the value on purpose. It doesn't make sense, because at the end of the day, Oakland didn't always want to bend to the demands of private businesses. And that's fine. And sometimes there's give and take between private businesses and governments. The difference between there and there is very simple, because the reason why the stadium was so bad, the quality of the baseball and the quality of football was so bad, is because the owners are intentionally allowing the team to be bad, because they know that because the quality of the baseball and the football is so bad, they're going to be like, well, you know, the fans don't want to show up to our bad baseball and our bad football. Let's just leave and go to somewhere else. And then they justify it like you are and say, oh yeah, they don't really care about it, so why should I why should I watch? And because that is how it works. That's why you get the narrative, oh, they're bad fans, why should I go and show up? Or why wouldn't they show up even for bad baseball? Because the baseball's bad. Who wants to watch bad baseball? Who wants to watch bad football? Who wants to watch Thursday night football? The point is, the reason why people don't want to show up to these games is because they've been depreciated on purpose by owners, because owners don't necessarily want to stay in Oakland or whatever city. This isn't just for Oakland either. Look at Montreal, for example, I think in the 90s. In the 90s, the Montreal Expos intentionally depreciated their product when the city of Montreal would not give them a new stadium in downtown of that city. The reason for that being, they wanted a new stadium because they thought that the old stadium was really bad. So they intentionally depreciated the product because because the city of Montreal didn't bow to the demands of the team. So they intentionally depreciated the product. They made it bad to a point where fans didn't want to show up and they left. This happens all the time in sports. This isn't just a one-off thing where it's like, oh yeah, it'll happen in Oakland, for example. This is just a very straw man example that you're using to try and paint Oakland in a bad light. It's a narrative you're creating about private businesses or whatever. They can do this, they can do that. Okay, yeah, that doesn't make it right though, does it? I don't agree with you, man. I'm from an LA area and we showed up even when the team was awful at Frank McCourt. Okay, fine. You did show up. That's fine. This doesn't, but at the end of the day, a lot of other fans didn't show up, did they? I'm going to actually I'm actually going to do that now. I'm actually going to check that now because I'm actually interested in these stats, because I actually do kind of want to know like what it was like. So can you tell me what it was like like what the population of the stadium was actually like, or like tell me what year was Frank McCourt in charge of the Raiders, because I'd actually want to know what those stats were. What was the population or the average population of the stadium when Frank McCourt was in charge of the Raiders? I actually do want to know this. So can you actually tell me what year like McCourt was in charge of the Raiders? Because I actually do want to know this. I genuinely do want to know this. So the Dodgers. I mean, I don't. This is for the Dodgers? I mean, you're not talking about the Raiders. Okay. So yeah, that's fine. I mean, the thing is though, about the Dodgers though, there's a big difference in my opinion, is that the Dodgers have been in Los Angeles longer than the than the Raiders have been in Oakland. If I'm not mistaken, this could be completely wrong. I think this is the case because I'm pretty sure you moved to Los Angeles in like the 50s along with us, the Giants, when we moved to San Francisco. So, and we showed up when the team was awful with Frank McCourt. Yeah, fine. But the thing is, the difference between Los Angeles in this case and Oakland in another case is that the team itself and Frank McCourt don't necessarily want to move out of Los Angeles because there's an incentive to stay in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a big media market. I mean, who wants to move out of New York? Do you think the Mets or the Yankees are going to move out of New York? I mean, there's a massive difference in my opinion. I mean, it just doesn't make that much sense. I just still disagree with you, plain and simple. I mean, Oakland. What? There's no truth to what anybody says about Oakland's fans being bad. Oakland's fans are really good. Like, I watch them all the time. I listen to them talk about baseball. The Giants blew the lead today. I'm shocked. It's bad, man. It's so bad. Like, is it still 5-5, I believe? Yeah, I'm been just in depth in this conversation right now. Oakland, I thought, was a top 5 market. No, it's not a top 5 market. The top 5 markets right now, in my opinion, are probably Los Angeles, where you're at, New York, obviously. Then you have like the 2 Texas cities, Houston and Dallas, or Fort Worth, like the area around Dallas. And then I'd probably say like Miami, maybe. There's a lot of good fans out there, like the Florida Lightning and the Tampa Bay. Chicago. There you go. Chicago is another great sports market. But yeah, Oakland is not a great sports market. As the years have gone on, Oakland has not been a great sports market. But it used to be. The Warriors were there. Obviously the Raiders were there, and the A's were there. But I'm sorry, it's just not accurate to say that Oakland fans are bad fans or that the market is bad in some way, because I do genuinely believe fans at Oakland are great fans. They have great fandom. They have people who show up a lot of the time. And it's just a lot of regular fans, because the thing is, there aren't always diehard fans like us, like here in the chat, and people all over the place who are going to show up to every single game all the time, despite the quality of the baseball. There are a lot of fans who are more casual fans. Okay, my bad. But I think the A's will be good in Vegas, even if they stay in Sacramento. I mean, I don't know about the Vegas thing, because I genuinely think that Las Vegas has a great sports atmosphere. One of the things I did mention is hockey. Hockey is a great sport atmosphere out in Vegas. But I think I use the Raiders as an example too. They are constantly overmatched with opposition fans all the time. I do think that the A's, if they go to Vegas, it'll be interesting. There's going to be intrigue there. The problem is really, it just seems to be the lack of interest in baseball, because I don't know that many fans out in Las Vegas that are fans of baseball. And from what I hear from the city officials and people out there, they don't really care to have baseball out there. Yeah, they did say, we'll build a stadium for you. But a lot of public officials, like the mayor, have said, oh yeah, it's not that, we're not that interested. And even one of the mayors even said, what the mayor of Vegas even said, oh yeah, you might as well just stay in Oakland, because we're not going to be able to have the stadium ready for you. And that's usually not how it works. Even though they do have a stadium for baseball out there, they said, we're not going to give it to you. So Vegas doesn't seem that inclined to help the A's like get ready for baseball in Vegas. So I just don't know. The Giants will be the only MLB team tomorrow night. Hopefully they fire Farhan, put together a winning team. The Giants could become a real monster in a few years if done right. I agree. I mean, this was something I talked about a little earlier in the year. It's like the A's fan base is going to be more inclined to try and find baseball somewhere else. And you can go across the bay, across the bridge and go to San Francisco, and you will go to a nice ballpark in Oracle, and it's pretty damn cool. It's really about, in my opinion, one of the biggest issues is really just about putting a good product on the field, which I think with the payroll we have, we could probably put something decent out there. And it's that really is it, though. Like you said, LD, it's really just about trying to like fire the people who are doing this team wrong. But yeah, the Vegas Stadium is small, only 300K seats. That's going to hit the limit, their money drawing power. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty small stadium in comparison to a lot of other places, certainly. But yeah, I honestly want to just keep talking about this for a minute. The Giants really screwed up opportunity, in my opinion. And it's very simple. We had an opportunity to turn a bunch of cynical A's fans into Giants fans because of how bad John Fisher has been for the city of Oakland and how bad he's been for baseball. I mean, there was opportunity there, in my opinion, because a lot of A's fans would be like, oh, let's go support the Giants because they're a serious team. They want to put a good product on the field, and we can be prideful with them. And that's just not been the case. It's just not been the case. I mean, it's just not good, man. Just a bad situation, in my opinion. Like, we haven't been doing enough to get people to care about baseball because that's the biggest problem, in my opinion. If you're not putting up a good product on the field, no fans are going to want to come and watch. And if that happens, we are going to continue to be in trouble. As of right now, we're at the top of the 8th. It's tied 5-5. Ryan Walker is currently in a battle with Brendan Donovan. It's a 1-2 count. But yeah, the Giants cannot keep doing what they're doing right now. If they are going to be a serious team that actually wants to be considered contenders and wants fans to care about the game that's going on at Oracle Park, they have to actually be serious about creating a product that would draw fans of the A's to join this team. But yeah, I agree with your assessment of missed opportunity by the Giants by not being a winning product this year to draw A's fans. Yeah, I mean, I've already given most of the explanation about that, but you really could have capitalized on passionate fans wanting to come watch baseball at Oracle Park. I mean, it's definitely disappointing. Maybe next year things will change if we fire him, but as of right now, we are not doing good enough. We're not good enough right now, bottom line. As we have another foul. I mean, the Cardinals are just battling right now. Ryan Walker at the top of the 8th. It's just we blew another lead because Eric Miller just absolutely just imploded on himself. Jesus. Sorry, y'all. I have like noise going outside my window. But yeah. Eric Miller, I mean, Black, Jelly, and Duvall actually had some pretty good performances today, but Eric Miller just absolutely – he didn't get one out. That's absolutely crazy to me. How you don't get one single out is crazy. For me as an LA Dodgers fan, if the Angels were run like the A's, they wanted to move to Vegas, I'd say good riddance. We don't need you. Well, the thing is about the Angels, though, in my opinion, is that they're in Anaheim. That was the weirdest thing, in my opinion, about Artie Moreno, because I think Artie Moreno is a terrible owner of the Angels. The Angels are just a badly run baseball team like the A's, but they're bad in a different way because their owner tries to care and overmanages and doesn't do a good job. I mean, look what's happened to Trout. He has been injured, beaten up, and battered. And you guys, Dodgers fans, managed to get an absolute gem of a player because Artie Moreno wasn't willing to pay up and be serious about paying this generational talent of a player that could have been entertaining and interesting for Angels fans. I mean, if they wanted to leave, I wouldn't be surprised either. It's just another weird thing is that they're in Anaheim, which is not technically a part of Los Angeles. It's a different municipality or whatever. Point being, it's just like the Angels are also in a horrible situation as the A's. I mean, the A's are obviously in a much different situation than the Angels, but the Angels are just such a terrible team because they've mismanaged their great talent. They've mismanaged like the opportunity to go capitalize. I mean, you have not one, but two generational talents fall right into your lap and you messed it up. You had Mike Trout, who had already been like a 3-time MVP. Then he starts getting injured. And it's like, you've really mismanaged his career because you haven't even won a playoff game with him. I don't even think you've sniffed the playoffs. I mean, yeah, I think you did. They did once. And then you have Shohei fall into your lap. And basically at that point, it's like you keep thinking that team could have been something like all the time. Like you think, oh yeah, this team has talent. It could have been something with those two superstars batting next to each other. You thought this team could be good, but they messed it up. And it's all because of Artie Moreno, in my opinion, because Artie Moreno has really shown how bad of an owner he is, because it's not like he thinks as an owner, Artie Moreno, that he knows best. He thinks that he's got all of it under control as an owner, but he really doesn't. He's really bad at understanding like player personnel. He's bad at signing free agents. I think the best example I use to exemplify Moreno's reign as the devil, the dark angel of the Angels is very simple. If anybody remembers the Tyler Skaggs situation, where the Angels and Artie Moreno had notoriously hired a pitching coach who had been notorious of supplying illegal substances to pitchers. And Tyler Skaggs ended up falling to the vices of addiction, and he ended up dying in his hotel room. And I use that example all the time to talk about why the Angels are such a badly run franchise. They were complicit in getting a man killed. Not because Artie Moreno thought, maybe I shouldn't hire a guy who's notorious for supplying pitchers with illegal substances. If he actually had a sense of like player personnel, hiring coaches, and understanding situations, the Angels might be a good baseball team, but they're not a good baseball team. They will never be able to overcome Artie Moreno. And sadly, we're watching Trout get King Felix right before our eyes. So it's just too bad. LD says the Giants have a great stadium. If the team inside isn't great, it's a shame. It's kind of a waste, in my opinion. I mean, it's just, yeah, I don't know how to explain it. Like, you can't. It's kind of like this. If you remember those years ago, obviously we're not as bad as this, but the Orioles obviously have Camden Yards, which is a beautiful ballpark, but they had such bad quality of baseball that no one wanted to come. It was pretty much always empty. I mean, that's basically it. Like, we have a great ballpark. It's cool, I guess. I mean, but it's like having like a really nice car in front of a burning house. What's it really going to do? Fisher never had a player killed, so is Artie a worse baseball owner over Fisher? I mean, I don't think you can quantitate or say which is a worse owner. I mean, they're both bad owners. Artie Moreno is bad for doing that. He's also bad because he makes bad free agency decisions, which again, that's not comparable to what happened to Tyler Skaggs. That's bad. But with Fisher, it's different because it's kind of the sliminess that he has, because he's trying to act genuine and very oh yeah, I'm one of you. I care about baseball too. I wish we could stay in Oakland, but we failed. And he says all that stuff and he really doesn't mean it. And he acts, it's a very snake behavior, in my opinion. It's not good, but it's a different type of bad, because with Artie Moreno, He's the alpha and the omega of that organization. John Fisher is just a businessman that doesn't care, doesn't care about the team. Artie Moreno does sort of care about the team. He thinks he's a baseball man, but he's more like a Jerry Jones type. He thinks that he knows the game, but he really doesn't. And even then, Jerry Jones wouldn't let his players rot and possibly die. So it's a different type of bad. It really depends on situation, in my opinion. Why is it bad? Because the Angels don't have the same situation as the A's. It's just a bit of a different situation, in my opinion. But I have to think about this a little more, though. A really nice car in front of a burning house. Perfect analogy for Giants Stadium with Farhan running the team, pretty much. I mean, I've watched this team do a lot. And again, this is very arrogant coming from me. But yeah, the Angels still draw a lot of fans. That is the biggest difference. That is the biggest difference because the fans aren't apathetic in the way that A's fans are. Angels fans are very much more caring about the team, even though they've won one World Series, which was like 2001, where we got beat by them. But it's a little different, obviously, and that is probably the biggest reason. Because Angels fans still do care. They're just very it's just a different thing because the A's are apathetic because they have a feeling like, oh, yeah, it's all over. Why should I care? Because my team's going to be gone soon. But with Angels fans, it's like, okay, the team isn't in a state of jeopardy to the point where I can't care about them anymore. And Moreno hasn't done something that's like possibly going to ruin my way of being with baseball. It is just a bigger difference, in my opinion. I don't know. It's the situation's different. I mean, another example I use is like Bob Nutting, for example, for the Pittsburgh Pirates, which is the Pittsburgh Pirates are the exact opposite of the Los Angeles Dodgers. They don't spend any money and they develop only a couple good talent. Like Jared Jones, Mitch Keller, Paul Skeens, like Brian Reynolds, who we gave to them. That was idiotic. And all these other things. I mean, there's just different types of bad. I mean, look at like Phil Castellini in like Cincinnati, in the Cincinnati Reds. He's one of those guys who kind of is this arrogant type of owner who puts a bad product on the field, but says, where are you going to go? He said once about like the fans of Cincy, like, are you guys going to be able to keep attendance up if your team keeps being bad? He's like, well, where are you guys going to go? Where are you guys going to go? Well, they can go to Cleveland and start watching better baseball up north. But there's just, in my opinion, with sports owners, there's just different types of bad for different situations. It depends really on city, team situation, team standards, and fan standards. It's just such a bizarrely different thing, in my opinion. I don't know how to describe it because, again, I'm not the best versed in certain situations. I like to think I'm better versed in other situations, like Oakland, for example. But in some situations, I'm just not great. But yeah, LD, we gave the Pittsburgh Pirates Joey Bart too. Brian Reynolds and Bart are two of their best hitters they have. Yeah, I mean, Joey Bart didn't play great for us, but I would have liked to have him as like a backup. It would have been fine to have him there. And Brian Reynolds is obviously like a really good player. He's not a great fielder, but he's certainly a good hitter. And I would like to have him on the team because then we would have the outfield solidified and I'd be more inclined to say, oh yeah, we're serious. As Tyler Fitzgerald is safe at first. God, we are in a dead heat. We're basically trying to out-Cardinal the Cardinals. And yeah, that's the second time today a pitcher has been hit by by the ball coming off a batter's bat. But yeah, that is the difference. I mean, just to go back to this, it's just the Pittsburgh Pirates also have an apathetic fan base who don't seem to care. But when they're good, if anybody remembers the 2014 wild card game between us and the Pirates, there were fans shouting, yelling. That was a passionate fan base. You see the same thing with Oakland and the same thing with Anaheim. Like, you see them care, like in certain moments, like when the team is really, really good. But then you see when they're really bad, they're apathetic. They hate the team. They're really mad. They call for change. And it's just, that's why you get the impression sometimes that the fans don't care, because Pittsburgh Pirates fans are very apathetic. They barely come to PNC Park, even though PNC Park is a fantastic stadium. They don't want to go. I mean, who would want to go watch Pirates baseball unless it's Paul Skeens Day? And then you look at like the Angels, they still have fan attendance who care, but it's like, oh, that's a massive error from a Cardinals pitcher. And they're going home. Fitzgerald's going home. He slides and he's safe. Okay. In my opinion, Bart would have done better here if Kapler hadn't constantly batted him in the ninth hole with no protection behind him. When a player has power like he has, pitchers pitch around him. I agree. I mean, Bart, he showed promise, but I think the biggest issue with Joey was that he wasn't a great defensive catcher. He was a good offensive catcher. He could hit pretty well. And that was a bunt, and the pitcher just absolutely threw it into just away. That was hilarious. But point being, just like with Joey, he's a good player. I looked at his defensive metrics a couple days ago because I wonder, okay, would Joey have been good with us in that way? He would have been a good offensive threat. Everyone can. I think you can compare him to like Wilson Contreras. I mean, he's a good hitter. He's not a bad hitter. He's really good. It's just we did mismanage him with Kapler. That's the biggest thing. And that goes back to Farhan Zaidi and Kapler and all these other guys just being horrible in general. I mean, it really just goes back to that. But I think we can just take solace as Giants fans knowing we're not A's fans, Angels fans, Pirates fans, Reds fans, even though the Reds are looking better because they have a young core that's about to turn it around possibly. It's just, as Giants fans, we're lucky because we have history. We have like a recent success to think of when we think of baseball here, and we can enjoy that, and we can enjoy what we're doing now because we can look at the team and say, oh yeah, we have a future. But with the Angels, do you have a future? Because Mike Trout's about to be gone. Well, not literally, like he's not going to retire or even get traded because we're watching him get King Felix before our very eyes. And with the Pirates, with Bob Nutting and how bad he is as an owner, they're not going to ever progress, even with a guy like Paul Skeens. And I think he's going to be in Dodger blue in the next few years if they keep messing him up. I mean, it's just it's a crappy situation because, all those teams are just in terrible situations. But I think as Giants fans, we can take solace knowing no matter like how much we struggle, we can like have a little hope for something. In my opinion, Farhan and Kapler hated Bart and sabotaged him because he was a first-round pick from the previous regime. But I guess it doesn't really matter now. I just hope the Giants are better next year. Yeah, I mean, if it's from the previous regime, I know for a fact Farhan Zaidi hates it because Elliot Ramos was he was from the last time they were here. He was a guy, one of Sabian's people, and along with a couple other players on this team, they were Sabian's picks. They were Sabian's people. And you think about that now and how badly Ramos was treated. Think about how bad Fitz was treated, how bad like other players on this team were treated. And you think like all of the previous people that were like a part of like, I don't know, the Sabian's regime are all being treated so poorly by Farhan Zaidi. It kind of reminds me of how Josh McDaniels treats players, for example. Like he treated Derek Carr so badly and ran him out of town and downtown in who has the higher attendance, Angels or Giants this year and post 2010, 12, 20 years. I mean, the Giants have a passionate fan base, but we get apathetic sometimes. I do think we would probably have a higher attendance because it's easier to access the ballpark in a lot of ways. The Angels ballpark's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's not really like in a centralized city. Like, you look at Dodger Stadium, for example, like at a night game, there's going to be people from like there's going to be people from the city of Los Angeles who just want to like go see a game. Like they have their business, they have their job during the day, they go see a game after the everything. And then the same is sort of with San Francisco, where there are like a bunch of people who have jobs there and just decide, you know what, it's been a long day. Let's go see the ball game. Let's go see the ballpark. But if I was going to guess, I would say San Francisco, but hey, maybe you're wrong because as you just said, Anaheim's a big city and that team, and they are passionate fans. So it's definitely possible. And attendance is usually based around the product you put on the field. And like it or not, over the past like 20 years, they have had an exciting product, like with Trout, with Ohtani, and a bunch of other guys. They've been exciting. While Giants baseball ever since 2014 has just pretty much been kind of meh, unless it's been like that 2021 year. In that case, it's going to be exciting. But yeah, anyway. Oh no. Okay, so it is top of the ninth. We have a 1-run lead. Spencer Bivens is looking for the save. There's a man on base. Spencer Bivens throws a strike that's just above the zone. I mean, yeah, it's just a product and fan attendance almost always based on what you put on the field. Most of the time, at least. It's almost always based on what you put on the field. And yeah. Snell says he'd like to stay in SF, but I think if he loved SF so much, he would have pitched today, just my opinion. With Snell, I mean, I'd like him to stay. I think he's a great player. I think he's a really good player. It's just he could play for a better team for more money and have the aspirations of a championship, which is not something the Giants have right now. I mean, we do have aspirations for a championship with Foolish Farhan leading our team. Of course, we have idiotic aspirations, but do we have what it takes to realize the opportunity to do it? And Snell realizes with Scott Boras, we're probably not going to have that chance. I mean, we have some good players, Fitz, Ramos, along with Bryce Eldridge waiting in the wings and a couple other players on this team in the pitching staff like Logan, like Ryan Walker, like Tyler Rogers. We have interesting stuff that could possibly do well, but it's just like he could go to a better team that has more run support and has just, the opportunity to do something greater. I mean, I can't see him going to Los Angeles because the Los Angeles Dodgers don't sign Boras clients. That's one of the biggest things that they do. The Los Angeles Dodgers, they don't like to sign Boras clients anymore. I don't think they signed any, if I'm not mistaken, because of the Cody Bellinger situation. But I think Snell, he's opting out. He's going to go to another team that is going to pay him a lot of money for his services. I just don't see him staying here. I mean, why would he stay here? There's no reason to. I mean, he could be paid even more money. Obviously, he has high yearly value here, but there's just not many incentivizing reasons for him to stay in San Francisco. I mean, the thing is about pitching in Oracle Park, it's obviously good. That's why a lot of pitchers do choose to sign here, foolishly or not. But I don't think that would be enough for him to stay. There is one other reason why I think he'd stay, and that is I think Patrick Bailey and him have done super well when Patty's been behind the plate and Snell has been on the bump. And when that happens, when those two work together so well, I wonder if Snell's a little tempted to keep working with his battery mate. But again, I agree with you. If I'm him, I'm opting out too. There's not much reason to stay. Spencer Bivens gets a foul ball on a sinker. It is top of the ninth, 2-2 count, 6-5 with the Giants in the lead. We have one out. Spencer Bivens has a 2-2 count. All right. He is in the windup. He sets. He throws here. It's a really good changeup, but Carpenter just spit on it. The problem is here you do not necessarily want to bring up Mason Wynn because he is a great hitter who can drive in runs. You probably want to try and get Carpenter out here so that you can do something later. And it's a foul ball on a sinker. Thoughts on Shohei Ohtani's season? It's great. He plays great. I mean, he's a great player. I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, I'm a Giants fan, yeah, and I don't want to compliment him because he's a Dodgers player. That's not personal because this is more of a rivalry thing. But, I mean, he stole 50 bags and hit 50 home runs. Nobody has done that before. That tells you something. And this is just him hitting. He's going to pitch next season, which is even crazier. Like, it's such a crazy thought that this is him just hitting. I'd love to see what he's going to do when he pitches, because if I'm keeping it honest, as just a fan of baseball, not just as a fan of that team, it's just so impressive to see Shohei Ohtani do what he does. He's a great player. And I got to see him actually when he came to Oracle Park a couple months ago. This was actually one of his worst games. He struck out 3 times and went 0 for 5. But that's not the point. The point is, when I watch that guy, he is fantastic. I mean, there's nothing short of anything great about him. I mean, the most surprising thing about Shohei, in my opinion, is how fast he is. It's just, when you look at this big 6-foot guy who pitches and is a DH, you think, oh, he's not that fast. He's not that fast. Then you see him actually run the bases, and you're like, how the hell is there that much speed in that 6-foot frame? That 6'4" frame. The dude's a freak of nature. He's something else. I've never seen anything like him or what he's done. There's no guy who can pitch like 100-mile-per-hour fastballs and hit 120 off a bat while stealing like bases off a great lead on a first base. Like, he's great. I mean, I have nothing else to say. He's a great player. But obviously, as a Giants fan, I can't cheer for the guy because I'm a Giants player. It's not personal, okay? But yeah. All right. 1-2 the count. Bivens deals. And it's a pop-up. It's going to left field. Matt Chapman catches the ball, and that's the game. Okay, that's cool. I'll take that. I mean, yeah, I'll take that. Sorry, I have it up on my phone, but yeah, hey, I'll take that. It's cool. All right, it's cool. I'll take that today. I mean, it's just as the stream's like about to end in like 2 minutes. But hey, does anybody have anything else they'd like to talk about? Because, I mean, I don't think I have anything else to talk about. But yeah. So yeah, let's just get some whip around sports. I mean, tomorrow is going to be NFL Sunday. That's going to be cool. The 49ers will play the Patriots. I'm just going to say this quickly. If we do not do better defensively, if we allow more than 15 points defensively, I'm going to call for Nick Sorensen's head. Who's winning the Super Bowl? I mean, until further notice, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. Listen, I'd like to say the 49ers, but we've been having struggles lately. Until we make it there and actually until we're at the Super Bowl and it's 50-50, I'll say us. But for now, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is the main character. He's a great player. He's one of the best in the world. He's possibly this generation's greatest talent. It's the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes until further notice. That's just my opinion. But I bet we lose tomorrow. It's possible. I would agree with that. It's definitely possible. I mean, the Cardinals are this horrible blob of baseball. They're boring, they're awful, and I hate them. But we also own the Cardinals because if anybody remembers those 2 playoff runs, I always love talking trash to Cardinals fans about how much we owned on their team. But yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for coming around. Thank you, 7 grand. Welcome to the community, by the way, man. It's great to have you here. It's great to have you be a part of this because it's always important to have guys who come into this chat and just talk about things. It gives me something to talk about because at the end of the day, you guys make this possible. The community's here. They make it possible. You guys talk, I listen, and I give my thoughts on what's going on. But it'll be interesting to see how all this goes. Hey, it's October today, man. It's October today. It's not October today, but I don't even know what I'm saying. Sorry, I'm like drunk right now. But what I'm saying is we are going to have a month that is absolutely fantastic for sports. Hockey's back, basketball's back, NFL's continuing. We have playoff baseball. So it's going to be a great time of the month for me, for you guys to just talk about whatever, sports or anything. It's going to be great. So have fun, y'all. And just come here, support me, support Eric, support Glenn. It's good to have you guys here. Without you guys, none of this is possible. So thank you guys so much. Much love, y'all. I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys. But that's all. See ya.
You've been watching the Northern California Sports and Entertainment Network, a Northern Lights Entertainment broadcasting station.